Alright, y'all have heard the rest. Now it's time for us to talk about the best. Shamu, everybody. We have done the information model on the last one. We've done the psychological model. We've done the energy model. Now we're going to talk about the fourth model. The one I personally ascribe to and my favorite. We're going to pull in some information from the document and some information from another person's writings. And we'll address that when we get there. But we're going to talk about the spirit model. So, the spirit model is purportedly the oldest model of magic that we have. Some will try and claim that it comes into existence after or simultaneously with the energy model, but I put that really in question, and we'll discuss that here in a moment. But we can find this worldwide in iatromantic cultures, and animistic cultures, as well as in many, many different religions. Hang on, because why is my computer going off all crazy right now? I thought I had turned the volume off. There we go. So its basic premise is the existence of an other world, inhabited more or less by autonomous entities such as spirits, angels, demons, gods, demons, etc., etc. The magician or the eomantress or the shaman or the witch doctor, whatever term, is someone who can enter this other world at will, who has traveled widely in it, knows the language, knows the customs, has, made friends and such, acquired allies and such within this world. This is important as all magic is of these entities' making. The modern German word for witch, Hexe, illustrates this really neatly. If we take a close look at the etymology, it derives from an old High German word, which I'm going to try my best here, of Hagazusa, which translates as fence rider, allegedly. The Hagazusa is riding the fence between worlds. In other words, she's at home in the world of everyday life, and as well as the magical otherworld of spirits. In the spirit model of magic, it's seen as being affected by... In the spirit model, magic is seen as being affected by these entities who are usually invisible, at least to the average person, and it is the magician's task to make them put his will into effect. This may be done by prayer, by barter, by cajoling, or even in some of the medieval demon magic, by the application of magical force, threats, and pressure. This other world may have its own geography, but it's usually considered to coexist with the world of everyday life. The key to entering it can be an altered state of consciousness sometimes. Sometimes it can be controlled trance, it can be ecstasy, it can be just being in a place and time with the right language and the right tools, with the right timing. And the magician tends to become an expert of these things. The spirit model has prevailed in traditionalist or in dogmatic magic until today. Some of the most noted modern exponents, Franz Barden touched on this. Crowley, to a great extent, touched on this. Jake Stratton Kent took this, ran, and birthed a whole renaissance to this. There's a lot that this is something we can continually see a through line that everybody talks about. Now, in this write-up, it talks a little bit about an other world, and we also see it as just like being underneath the earth, with these spirits outside of deities, these spirits being chthonic in nature, or there is an argument to be made of them being volcanic in nature, tying to Vulcan and volcanoes as an entry into this netherworld. This is where we'll also see magicians dealing in catabasis, in these underworld journeys to be able to speak with, to master, to cajole, to ally with these spirits. Now, I'm going to read a little bit from the wonderful, wonderful magician Shay Crow, as they wrote on this. All their writings are wonderful. If you don't know Shay Crow, you really should. I'm going to tag them below. Now, Shay comes at this from a scientific view. I am not a scientist. I am not as well versed as Shay, so I really hope that I don't misinterpret this, and you should check out their writings to get a fuller thing of it, because I have about 6 minutes, or 4 minutes to discuss this. So Shay brings up that our evolutionary biology has hardwired our entire central nervous system to readily accept the spirit model. So basically, evolutionary science is, what makes everything in bioscience intelligible. Biological evolution shapes most every aspect of humanity. Now, evolution occurs because there are natural variations in the inheritable genetic traits of a living population, so individuals in the population with traits that provide an advantage are more likely to survive, to reproduce, and pass their genes along. We all took biology in school, right? So, there is a growing body of work in the biosciences, specifically in neuroscience, evolutionary psychology, and anthropology, that's unraveling a very powerful trait that evolved in humans. Shay Crow says it is called hypersensitive agency detection. Basically, humans are hardwired to assume a conscious agent is behind phenomena that they encounter. This trait is selected because it gives us an advantage of increased probability of appropriately responding to threats in the environment, to predators that may be stalking us, these sort of situations. If we are to assume that every sound or movement is a danger or has an agent behind it, our odds of survival drastically increase. Because if it turns out to be nothing and we end up being on guard with the adrenaline popping up, with us being hyper aware, with us noticing every little thing, it's no great loss. But if we don't respond to these like this, and the signal was from a threat, we get a genetic line done. So this active conscious agency detection system that we have is very easy to trace a through line from, if there is an agent behind everything, then there's an agent behind all things around us. So this will give birth to animism, which we see in the anthropological records is our earliest form of spiritual thinking. Animism, of course, being the idea that everything has or is a spirit. From there, it's not a far leap for us to start looking at us having a spirit and us having a soul, and a question of what happens to that soul after death. And this then begins to build into what becomes funerary customs, what becomes burial goods, our funerary rites, all of this stuff that is predicated on us being aware of an agency behind things. And from animism and funerary rites, we begin to see our first religions, our first workings with these spirits, being able to talk with the spirits of the trees and of the rocks, and be able to do these things, understanding the virtues and the characteristics of the spirits of the plants that we work with, both in medicine and in magic. And this is what leaps us forward, essentially, into the spirit model and how things form and shape there. So according to Shay, who has been in the sciences for this, there is a huge scientific grounding. I don't have time to go into all the wonderful stuff that they wrote on this. Y'all should check them out. I'm going to ping them below. And I'm sure if they want to come up and do a better explanation of this, they are more than welcome to. Anyways, that is my whole 10 minutes here. May your ancestors bring you the sweetest of portents. May you have the most wonderful of dreams tonight. May you all stay comfy in all this weather, and may you all stay safe. Shamu.